IVM.
The Inheritors podcast series by Bloomberg Quint.
I am Sonu Bhasin, and you are listening to The Inheritors, a podcast series that covers all aspects of family businesses. Today, I am in conversation with Sanjay Chakrabarti, the founding partner of Tag 8. Sanjay worked with Arthur Andersen and EY for almost 20 years before he was bitten by the entrepreneurial bug. He started Tag 8 with a partner who had been his colleague at EY. Tag 8 was a new concept and Sanjay was a new entrepreneur. So how did he make it work? Let us go right across to Bombay and catch Sanjay and hear it from him directly. Hi Sanjay, welcome to the podcast series, and it's a pleasure to speak with you on the podcast.
Thank you, Sonu. It's my privilege to be part of this podcast. Thank you for having me as a guest.
No, so, you run a very interesting business, and I am sure that the conversation is going to be interesting. So before I talk about the business, what I do want to ask you is that what made you decide in the middle of your rocking professional career that you wanted to give up the security of a good job with a big brand and walk into these uncharted territories?
Right. Sonu, let me maybe start on a lighter note. My wife is still convinced that it's midlife crisis that has resulted in the decision. I just hope there is more to it. No, on a serious note, so I've practically spent almost 2 decades in the consulting side. I started as a tax professional. At some point of time, I moved to New York as part of the Ernst & Young team, and I led the India desk there. And at that point of time, really, the horizon suddenly broadened a lot. And thankfully, I was there between 2006 and 8, wherein, nothing vis-a-vis the world economy, and especially vis-a-vis India, was going wrong. So, everything that we were doing was exceptionally good. So suddenly I had a very broad perspective of what was happening around me. And when I came back into the consulting practice in India as a partner in 2008, I got this great opportunity to move into a much wider role, which actually one was setting up the clean tech practice for EY in India, which was really renewable energy, water, waste management. I also got the opportunity to work back with creating the entire strategy, whether it's marketing, business development, account management for EY India. I worked back with the leadership team in EY India to build it. So suddenly, from a tax professional, the break in US got me into a much wider horizon. And then when I came back, the very fact that I was exposed to a wider space gave me that opportunity. So that was really great, again, an eye-opener, and I spent 6 years doing that. But frankly, there's always been that niggling desire in me, even when I was frankly a tax professional, to really explore the other side and see that you, as a consultant, you spend this whole time advising people, and at times also thinking that these are such advices that are not getting implemented properly, and if implemented properly, it would be a paradigm shift. So I always wanted to challenge myself and see that whether I could start all over again, and the advice that I so-called was giving to people, I could use it for myself and get something done.
Yeah. No. So you do talk about your consulting career. But consultants at the end of the day are advisors. And the uncharitable view is also that they are armchair advisors. But an entrepreneur is really an executor. And these are two completely different mindsets. So from a consulting advising role to a pure execution role, what were some of the changes that you had to make within yourself?
I I think you said it, though I would not say that consultants are necessarily, armchair role, because...
Yes, the armchair advisors.
Yes, no, but of late, and for good reasons, clients, when I was in the EY side, the last maybe 4-5 years, specifically my role as the renewable energy head, I really got a lot of time in talking to several people who were starting off their journeys. And really, the effort was working back with them to see that they are successful. And that's where it gave me a vantage point of actually seeing someone. In the past, before that, I pretty much had the exposure to really large corporates, and, it's been there forever. And frankly, whether I advised them or whoever advised them, or whether their team changed or not, they were just, someone with an entity that would always grow and, do well and that kind of stuff. So we were just adding on and contributing, definitely, hopefully, in a reasonable way. But it still had I wouldn't say negligible, but, relatively a much lower impact. But in the last 6 years, from the time I came back, became a partner and, started working on the renewable energy side, it gave me an opportunity to deal with entrepreneurs who were really starting up. And I just loved that whole idea of, putting together something from the scratch that doesn't exist and, build value over it. So that's where, that was, I guess, the first big piece that gave me a direct view of how something like that is done. And then I must also add here that my partner is also from EY, and he and I started talking about entrepreneurship way back in 2010, I would say. And the fact that we really, really got along, and we just complemented each other's skill sets, and finding the right partner, always having the desire to do something entrepreneurial. And we then bumped into an idea which we really, really loved. So that's kind of put things in play for us. But coming back in terms of the mindset shifts that you need is something that you already said. It's now I must admit that it's much easier to stand outside the ring and talk about what needs to be done and how. I think I appreciate it much more now when I look back and see that a lot of the things seem very simple from outside, but when you start executing it one by one, it's another ball game altogether. So I think that mindset shift clearly, in the last 4 years, hopefully has seeped into me.
I'm sure it has, considering the way that your target company is doing, but we'll just come to that in a bit. But, addressing the audience, or some of them who may be contemplating giving up a good professional job and turning into an entrepreneur. Some of my conversations with them have led me to believe that there's a whole lot of fear and a fear of a host of things. We give up a job, what's going to happen? There's no safety. We don't have any surety that our business is going to do well. So, can you share with the audience some of the fears that you had internally, and how did you address them?
Sonu, frankly, I don't know, in terms of my mindset, I guess I was wanting to be an entrepreneur for far too long. So even, my conversations with Alok started in 2010, and we finally, started, our company got incorporated on January 14, 2015. So it took me also a lot of time to really give up the idea of the not having a paycheck. And as you know, as you grow in the consulting world, it's a reasonable amount to get every month. I would love to have that kind of a certainty in my business. When, every month that kind of a money is, getting into the business.
And also the perks. I mean, the salary is just one component of your professional compensation. It's also the perks that most people find difficult to, or the lack of perks that most people find difficult to adjust to.
Yeah, I think all of those are there. I think one of the suggestions or guidance that I got early on when I was even contemplating getting into the venture was from someone who said that listen, just ensure that when you take the plunge into entrepreneurship, the standard of living that you will be able to maintain with whatever are your savings should be more than the standard of living that you were having when you were working.
Right.
Because that person's logic was that, you are going in from a zone which pretty much is a stable 24-hour period to a zone wherein at least 12 hours is going to be volatile. That's I'm just assuming a 12-hour work day at the minimum. It's going to be a 12-hour volatile work day. So you don't want to introduce and do things which then also impact your domestic quotient. So I thought that as a advice really, to me, gave me that comfort level because thankfully so, we were in a venture and with 20 years of, working experience and the financial security that I had, I was sure that, from a overall lifestyle perspective, nothing really changed. So, I could have 12 hours of my day was identical to what it was when I was in EY. And, it was really exciting to see the volatility in the 12 hour of work. And that's what was really one of the reasons that I wanted to get into that field. So it worked well. With that advice really helped me.
Right. And so, from deciding that you wanted to be an entrepreneur and you were lucky that you had a partner, you found a partner within your workplace, talking about two people getting into a business, which is anyway a challenging environment, and then to have two people in the business, how do you handle the challenges of two people? How do you look at managing conflict? How do you decide who does what? How do you solve these little things that, if are not addressed, can blow up into major issues?
Right. I strongly believe that it's easier to find someone to get married to. I think it's much more complex to find someone just right for you when it comes to business.
I think we need to speak to your wife as well about this.
Yeah, coincidentally, my wife and I used to, we were in Arthur Anderson together. So that's another story. I'm sure we'll talk about it someday. But really, I think one piece that worked well for us is we really have, very different skill sets which complement each other. So, Alok Seth, who's my partner, he is, even from a qualification standpoint, he is an engineer MBA, while I'm a chartered accountant. And thereafter, we have never really discussed, even before the business or at the time of starting off, saying that, this is going to be his role and this is going to be my role and this is how we'll play it, and, his decision on this will be final and my side of this will be final. So we never really sat down and pretty much put things down, saying or talked about it in detail to say who takes the lead where. It just, it almost happened in an unsaid manner. We pretty much got together in a way, I think subconsciously, because we knew each other's strengths. Because if I look at it, say, from Alok's perspective, just given his strengths, I pretty much respect it in a manner that if he's taking a call, and even if I have, slight discomfort on that call, I would give him my views, but I know that that's his strength point. Vis-a-vis me, he's much better at that subject. And, that's something that's really worked well for us, because we know exactly why we got together. That was the reason that, because we had very different skill sets which complement each other. The other thing I feel, that works well is that I strongly believe that for a partnership to work, each partner should believe that the other partner is contributing more to the business.
Yes, that's a good point.
So once that happens, you kind of see him and say that, okay, you know what, this guy is great, and without him, I don't think we would even have half our business, and which I genuinely feel vis-a-vis Alok. I genuinely feel that I frankly not sure that whether even I would have got into the entrepreneurial venture without having such a strong, professional backing me, and hopefully he feels the same. I've never brought it up with him. But yeah, clearly, I think that's something that is very essential in a partnership to be healthy and strong.
Right. So you had your desire to be an entrepreneur, then you found yourself a partner as well. How did you decide on the business that you wanted to be in?
So we, right from 2010, as I said, and I'm mentioning the year too often because that's etched in my memory. We used to constantly, Alok and I would work on, we had several common clients, so we used to spend a lot of time together traveling to the client and back. And we would keep, and Alok is someone who, used to actually advise various large corporates on what are the new businesses they could explore. He would also evaluate new businesses that they would want to kind of explore and, make business plans for them and basically look at the viability of getting into that option, getting a ROI and all those kind of things. So Alok had a pretty much good hand of what is happening in the sphere and, what else, what are the opportunities. Now, as far as this idea is concerned of Tag8, which is the Global Lost and Found Recovery Services, really stemmed from Alok. So he had frankly come across this concept. He thought that this is a time in India we could really kind of grow it. We're looking for something that is not significantly capital intensive. At the same time, it's not. It's very innovative yet simple. It is something that has a significant scale, and definitely it's something that is not only India specific but can be rolled out across the borders. So those are some of the basic parameters. I may be now sounding again like a consultant, but yeah, I think when we looked at a lot of the ideas, and then we looked at several ideas that could potentially work, we would constantly evaluate them. But I think we took a reasonably consultant-like approach, saying that this is what we want to go with.
How aware do you think you are of your laws and rights? Do you look up to laws when you are caught up in situations? Do you know what your rights are when you're stuck somewhere bad? Well, here's a show that can help you move an inch closer to being aware of what your rights are. Tune into Know Your Qanoon with me, Amber Rana. This is a podcast meant to answer all your law-related queries. Catch Know Your Qanoon every week on the IVM website or the app or anywhere you get your podcast from.
So normally it is people who have a definite business idea that they decide that we need to do something about it. But I guess being a consultant, you took the completely opposite route, that you said we want to be entrepreneurs and now let us explore the market and see which is the area that we want to be in, and then hone on to the business. So this is actually quite contra to a lot of the others that I have heard about entrepreneurship. But then
Sonu, they say that you fortunately or unfortunately can't get a consultant out of you once you've done it over a decade. So yeah, I mean, that's what has stuck with us too.
Yeah. So just talk us through a little about Tag8, which you say is a global recovery service. So how does it work? Why did you eventually decide to get into it? So just talk us through more about Tag8.
Sure. So what we realized specifically in India, there is a complete lack of infrastructure as far as lost and found is concerned. And when you travel anywhere abroad, you'll have various facilities, government departments, which really help you in getting the things back. What we realized that people lose valuables, and that's something that's practically a gospel truth. While people may claim that they've never lost anything in their life, if they really sit down for a while, maybe nothing extremely valuable which would really hurt them, but at some point of time or the other, maybe you've even got it back. But there have been instances that the person has lost something, or definitely they know of several people who have lost stuff. So the problem statement was apparent that you kind of lose stuff, and the infrastructure in India pretty much is not geared up. And also there's some sort of a perception issue in India saying that, once you lose your stuff, you'll never get it back. And there are various connotations around it. But what we strongly believed is that there were major reasons why a valuable doesn't get back to the owner. And some of them were like, really it was difficult to find out who the owner is, which is a very basic issue. Even now, when you not only through Taggate, but even outside Taggate, you see people actually spend more than 2-3 days of their own work from internet, Facebook, various channels to finally find out who the owner is of that particular document or bag or whichever case. So what we see is that the identity of the owner. Second is the whole reverse logistics of taking that found item by the finder and giving it to the owner. Third is that really there's no appreciation, there is no channel to really get that. There's a risk also associated when you want to return something back to the owner. Say, for example, you find someone's wallet and you want to return it. At the back of people's mind, we've come across several people, especially a lot of the guys in the local transportation segment, government transportation segment. They say that, we are happy to return, but what stops us from returning is that if something is found missing in that particular item, then there could be a finger pointing at us. So we rather let it go. I mean, just to give an example of some statistics, just the airports around India, and it's a reported number in the parliament, the value of the auctioned item is over 100 crores from the lost and found department.
So when in the airports, suppose I lose something, it goes into the lost and found department, and if I don't claim it, the government actually auctions it off.
Yes, that gets auctioned out. The same happens with the railways. The one data point that we have is from Mumbai Churchgate Station, which is one of our big stations here. Every day, around 150 products are reported found, and only 2 or 3 are claimed. So effectively, they keep adding 150 stuff, and they for them it's quite an effort because you need to then make a book entry, you need to store it. The space available is limited, and then it becomes, as per the law, it becomes the government property after the lapse of a certain period of time. It's usually 6 months or a year, and only then can you auction it out. So till that time, actually, technically, someone can go back and claim it. So I walked into some of those lost and found departments and seen, actually you could go back and take any, you see the number of phones, laptops, bags. It's just amazing how many of those items, which only with a little bit of help could have been back with the owner very, very easily.
Yeah, it's actually fascinating to hear from you that people who lose items like phones and laptops don't even come back looking for them. So how does then Taggate help them find their, the lost properties?
So we have various product ranges. The basic products that we have, which we feel are the most effective even now, is that we have a tag that is attached on each of these. So we have a passport case on which there's a tag behind, which has a very simple message saying return for reward, and there are 6 ways in which the finder can connect with us. So the way this product works is that once you assume you bought a passport case from us, you there is a unique owner ID number on that case, you register that owner ID number with us so that we know that that passport belongs to you. Now, say you travel to Amsterdam, while transiting, and you lose your passport somewhere. The finder getting it has over 6 ways to connect with us. We run a 24/7 call center. The moment we get that call, the rest of the responsibility of returning your passport is on us. We have a reverse logistics tie-up with DHL, FedEx, Blue Dart, Aramex. Our logistics partner goes to the finder. We reward the finder from our side. So if it's outside India, there's a $50 Amazon gift card. There is a recognition certificate, social media recognition. In addition, the owner can directly reward the finder. So the entire responsibility, once the finder calls to do this entire leg, is with us. The owner only bears the concessional rate as actuals of whatever is the logistics cost of getting, say, the passport back to him.
Right.
And similarly, we have a bag tag, we have a key tag, we have other starter kits. So those are the passive pieces that we have, and then we have various features added to it, like a passport. We have the case itself protects you from your passport being damaged. It has a passport expiry alert, and while we have a 90% recovery rate on passport, if you lose it and we don't get it back for you, we reimburse actually the entire cost of getting a new passport under Tatkal. So that's the overall offering in case of a passport. While in case of a bag, we've tied up with a Geneva-based company called SITA, SITA, and SITA is the global leaders in baggage tracking and handling. They have something called the World Tracer Code, which is basically the barcode that gets stuck on your bags or on your bag tag while you're traveling by air. And as per CITA's data only, practically 24% of the reasons when your bag is misplaced is on account of something wrong with the bag tag. So essentially, by using a tagged bag tag, you have a permanent SITA World Tracer code in your bag, and SITA manages over 2,800 airports across the world. So effectively, you lose your bag at any of these airports, we should be able to get it back to you.
Great. So it seems that, as good consultants, you thought through the business plan. But as you did start executing it, what were some of the challenges that kind of hit you from behind? Something that, in spite of your planning, you did not actually think of it.
Oh, those I could take maybe a week just talking about it. So, frankly, when we started the venture, I remember Jan 1, 2015, we thought that we had, being good consultants, we figured it out, and it would really work. It would be like a clockwork, working through the plan that we had put together, and we had a reasonable detailed plan that we had worked on. It so happened that I think within a month's time we discovered that the real world is very different, and maybe our preparedness level, while we thought we were there, was like at 50%.
Right. Right.
So it was a big wake up call. And our aspirations were to start commercial operations in 3 months' time. So, we had thought that April 1, which is the financial year, start of the financial year, that's when we kind of get going and, start making, at least generating some revenue. It really took us almost... I think it was November, if I remember right. Either it was mid-October or November, was the first time we opened up stuff for friends and families, and we started really, generating some revenue and getting feedback on what we were doing.
Yeah. So maybe, not so much as for budding entrepreneurs out there, but for consultants, I think the message is loud and clear. Think through before you advise, because the real world is very different from the consultant's world, right?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. The other thing is, finally, and that's again, a lot of people I've spoken to, they basically, and that's what we tried for a while, that, while we had resigned I think in May is when I kind of put in my paper. And EY was really great because they gave me, anyway, they usually, for a partner to kind of move out of the role, it takes a long time. But I was given that freedom, saying that, hey, listen, you will take time to also set up your stuff. You can use the office premise. So I was allowed to kind of, do stuff so long as it doesn't hamper the EY work, and including have meetings, client, target meetings in the EY office. So I just got all that flexibility, but still, doing two things at the same time is never the same as, really doing nothing but thinking about your business. And I feel that at the end of the day, the clock really starts ticking the time that you're doing nothing else but your business. This whole idea of saying that, listen, you know what, I will keep working, and especially, a lot of the consultants have that thing that, on the side I will start a business and I will wait for the business to grow. And once the business has grown, that's when I will kind of resign, and that's when I will kind of move into that role. My experience has been that it's, all or nothing game, really. That whole concept, I'm sure there will be people who can manage to do otherwise. But by and large, there is a good, according to me, I would strongly advise people, based just purely from my experience, that if you really want to take the plunge, take it completely, and have a date and just focus on your business.
Yeah, so there's no part-time entrepreneurship. It's either full in there or not at all. So I think that's
absolutely.
Yeah. So before I end, just on a lighter note, that with two consultants running the business, owning and running the business, do you really now employ consultants to come and give you advice?
I wish we had the money. That's one of our milestones, that we could hire consultants who kind of would be advising us. But frankly, we speak to a lot of people and get advice. We are very, very open to getting advice. You should know that for a fact, because practically every quarter I pick your brains and we are trying to get ideas, and some of them are yet not executed, I must admit, but some of them have really, really helped us. Some of the discussions have really got us significant mileage. So I wouldn't say that we are hiring consultants, and at some point of time we will definitely hopefully the time will come that we will be able to afford that. But thankfully the consulting network has given us the ability, and we have friends like you. We have a mentor that's again, he was someone I reported to in EY, Sunil Chandiramani. So we actually have, in a way, if I say, we go to a consultant every month, and we have reviews through him, because that really helps us to ensure that there's someone else who is talking to us on a constant basis and helping us build those really cover those gaps.
Yeah, I think, talking of consultants, and again, not trivializing it, I think I do believe actually that there is a whole lot of knowledge which is available, so long as the people who want it just open themselves up to, wanting it. Sometimes it is just a closed mind that thinks that, I know it, or I have started the business, or I have run this business for so long. There is, what is it that somebody else can tell me? But, successful entrepreneurs that I've spoken with always say that they have an open mind and they don't really go to structured consultants, but just having conversations. They do say that some of the best ideas have come through these unstructured conversations. So yes, so to a consultant, having unstructured conversations is good. But Sanjay, thank you so much for taking time out and speaking to us. It's been a really interesting conversation, and all the best to you.
Thank you so much, Sonu. As I said, it's my pleasure to be part of this.
The Inheritors podcast series by Bloomberg Quint.
Hi, my name is Anupam Gupta. I'm B50 on Twitter. I am the host of Paisa Vaisa, the show that talks money. On my show, I speak to experts from every field of money and finance, from stock markets, equities, debt funds, credit cards, life insurance, every possible area of money and finance that you can think of. We even did an episode on cryptocurrency. I've got fantastic guests from mutual funds to personal finance experts everywhere. Robo-advisory, startups, just name it, we've got it. At Paisa Vaisa, we help you make smart decisions about money. You work hard for money. Now make your money work hard for you. New episodes out every Monday, and you can listen to my show on the IVM Podcast app or any other podcasting app that you have. Paisa Vaisa is brought to you by Paytm Money.